Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Football Huddle. We're in episode 5. My name is Demetrius, and I'm here with
Nick Maltone.
And today we got plenty of topics to talk to you about. We got high school, college, NFL. We're going to talk about the articles we did, the games we went to, and the heartbreaking LSU loss. But let's get right into it. For me, I had the diamond in the rough. I'm sorry anyway if my voice sounds a little clogged up. I'm a little bit under the weather, but it's all good. For my diamond in the rough, I had a lineman named Navarro Skronik. He's from Brandon, South Dakota, and he attends Brandon Valley High School. Little fact about him, he's also a 4-time wrestling champion. So along with playing football, he's he's dominated on the wrestling
the
court. The
ring? The wrestling pad? I don't really know.
The wrestling was going to say wrestling pad.
That's huge up there, though, wrestling. That's like probably the second biggest sport, I'd say, behind football is wrestling.
And using those wrestling skills, he's able to really move the defensive lineman out the way, clearing paths.
Oh, I bet.
I'm pretty sure we're going to add the highlights, but you can see him just clearing the paths for his running back, protecting his quarterback, and yeah, being a 4-time state champion. That's pretty crazy.
That is. So he's a senior, right?
Yeah.
Is he committed anywhere? Does he got offers? Does he?
As of right now, he's not committed anywhere, but he has I think 10 different offers.
Oh wow. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So I'm gonna just talk about real quick the game that I attended this week. Southern Lab at Dunham here in Baton Rouge. Southern Lab pulled away and was able to win 35-23. Their quarterback, Marlon Brown, he looked pretty good. Threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for another one. They had a pretty good two-headed rushing attack between Jerome Harris and Amarian Asbury. Sorry if I mispronounced your first name. Their defense was pretty good too. Dylan Day was, all over the number one receiver. The Dunham quarterback only passed for like 69 yards. So they held them in check pretty good. It was pretty much just special teams was doing all the scoring for Dunham. But had a pretty nice conversation on the sideline for an hour with the Miami defensive coordinator, Lance Guidry, there to watch Dylan Day play, one of his commits for next year. So he gave me some insight a little bit into Miami and their whole recruiting situation right now too. But yeah, I don't want to say a one-sided game because Dunham did keep it competitive, but Southern Lab was up by 2 possessions a lot of the game. It really wasn't that close.
It sounds like they had the quarterback on locks. He said he only had like 49 passing yards.
69 passing yards, 55 rushing, but they still put up 23. But they had like a pretty long field goal and a couple of bad kickoffs gave them good field possession. And then they had an 85-yard kickoff return too by Drew Bourgeois. So, I mean, Southern Lab is definitely the more talented team. They've got a decent amount of like D1 prospects who will be D1 prospects if they're not already. So, pretty good game. Glad I went. Got to see some good football. Big win for the Kittens. So,
I like how with Southern Lab they're like the Kittens, and then with U-High is the Cubs.
Yeah, so they do that because they basically like are just a feeder school into the colleges. That's pretty good. Didn't you see Southern Lab a couple weeks ago? Someone saw Southern Lab.
I think it was.
Was it? Might have been somebody.
Oh, speaking of colleges, was you able to catch the LSU game?
I was able to catch some of it. The ending part, the worst part of it. But I don't know. What did you think about the game?
I mean, it was just as a college fan, it was a great game.
Oh, yeah.
But as a LSU fan, I don't think that's something you want to see. I mean, it was a high-scoring game. Don't get me wrong; it's a great shootout game, going back and forth. But I just didn't like how our defense just couldn't get a stop. I mean, You see how Jaden Daniels, he's having an amazing game. He threw for over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, but even with his amazing efforts, he put up 49 points. Even with that, you still can't He still end up with a loss.
They're wasting that offense right now. You can't give up 700 yards. That's absurd, and just an all-around terrible performance. They couldn't tackle, from what I heard and from the little bit of the game I saw, the last maybe 10, 12 minutes of the game, they could not tackle.
Yeah.
You'd see Judkins and he'd break 3 or 4 tackles and he'd be out for a 30-yard run, and then the same thing the next play.
Even the last score that they had to put them up in the fourth quarter, it was like nobody wants to tackle.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So hopefully they go through some tackling drills or something.
What got to do something. I don't know if it's just that they're not talented, because they're talented.
Obviously,
As LSU, they're getting 4 and 5-star kids to come in and high level transfers, but is it just that they're not playing with any passion? Are they getting behind and they're just are they overcompensating from earlier in the game and not performing well? I mean,
it's a lot of questions.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't really know what it was.
At this point, where do you go from here? Obviously now you're out of the college football playoffs.
I think there's a small chance they get in. If they win out and win the SEC championship, which I don't think they're going to do either, they might sneak in, because if you remember last year, they had 2 losses after Tennessee, and everyone was saying if they go and they win and they beat Georgia, they're probably going to get in as that 4 seed. And then when they lost to A&M, that was it, that 3rd loss. But I think they could.
It's a chance, but that means they gotta absolutely win out.
If they got to beat Florida. That shouldn't be that hard to do. But they got to beat Bama. They got to beat.
Yeah, beat Bama.
A&M's okay this year.
Obviously, you're gonna have to beat Georgia.
Yeah, or have to beat Georgia or whoever. It could be Missouri. Missouri's 5-0 right now. Kentucky's 5-0. Georgia hasn't looked great the last couple of weeks. I don't think Carson Beck is very good. I don't think they have good quarterback play. That's my opinion on it. Barely beating Auburn.
Maybe that means if Georgia, that means you have other teams like Tennessee, Missouri that has a chance. I feel like Georgia not being as dominant as they've been in the previous years, I feel like this is an opportunity. Really, I feel like it's an opportunity for really all the top teams, because right now you got Florida State 4-0, you got Ohio State, we got Texas.
You got Michigan still is up there. Washington, Oregon are both really good, and USC. Pac-12 is going to be bloodbath this year. I don't know who's going to win that. It's going to be one of those 3 I just said: Washington, Oregon, USC. Probably not Utah, but anymore. They just don't have a quarterback.
What do you think about the Colorado and USC game?
I thought it was closer than it was going to be at the end. I kind of expected USC to pull away at the beginning. I did not think Colorado was going to be able to really fight back, because they looked absolutely terrible against Oregon. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And they were down 42-0, and then they finally put up 7 on the board.
No, I don't think they got 6. I think
maybe
they got
had 6. 2 field goals, or they missed the PAT or something. I didn't watch that game, but I thought after that loss they were going to be a 6-7 win team, maybe 8. And now they're looking good. It might have just been on an off week.
I think
for Colorado.
I think them
against Oregon,
at least competing with USC, I feel like that's a great step. Yeah. Because at least they didn't go out and have another game like they did against Oregon. At least you were able to say, okay, we competed with probably the best quarterback in college football at the moment.
I think he's going to the Heisman again, honestly. Probably.
It's just you were able to. At first, it wasn't. It looked like it was going to be a repeat, but they end up coming back against. USC. They're not. Their offense is amazing, but their defense is subpar. And
who, USC?
Yeah.
Their defense is, I'd say, it's pretty average. Yeah, it's not great.
So if they wasn't able to at least put up for at least the amount of points they did, we would start to question how good Colorado is actually. Yeah.
Did Travis Hunter play?
No, I think he comes back.
I think he comes back this week. I think you're right.
Either this week or next week.
Good with him on defense. That'll improve Colorado's defense a lot. I don't know about the offense, because Travis Hunter hasn't been putting up a ton of stats on offense. He had that one good game.
Yeah.
I think it was against Nebraska where he had like 2 touchdowns, 100 yards.
I think just him being there allows the defense to like focus on him and have like the other people get open. But with him being out, I think everybody's just been trying to. I mean, they have a good offense, but with Travis Hunter, that just adds like another star. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You see some of the upcoming games.
Yeah, you got the Red River rivalry this weekend in Dallas. It's going to be a pretty good game. 2 5-0 schools. Last year in the Big 12. Probably going to be the first game out of 2 between them because they're probably going to meet for the Big 12 championship.
You think so?
I think so. I don't think either of these schools are going to have more than 2 losses this year.
I mean,
Texas is number 3. No one's going to beat them if they play. They've already got Bama out the way.
I feel like that was the biggest game.
Oh, for sure.
On their schedule.
I think they going to probably, I'm going to say they're going to win out right now, Texas. I know a lot of times they'll have like that classic trap game that always seems to get them. I think that could still happen.
I mean, just looking at their schedule, after Oklahoma, they got U of H, BYU, Kansas State, TCU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech. That seems like a pretty winnable schedule.
Pretty easy. They could be. Kansas State could be probably the hardest game out there on that schedule. But Oklahoma, kind of the same schools, I'd imagine. Big 12, probably a little different, but not bad. I mean, they're two good schools. They're probably 2 top 10 schools. I know Oklahoma's ranked 12, but at the end of the year, they're both going to be top 10. How about LSU, Missouri? Missouri being ranked higher than LSU too. That's kind of crazy.
I mean, you just going by records, they were 5-0. I mean, even though they haven't really played competition, they're 5-0. So like that allows them to be ranked higher than us.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, we're still favored by six points, almost a full touchdown. That makes sense to me. But they're good. They're a good school. They got a good team though. Missouri. They have some issues. They got some lack of star power. Like you probably can't name more than 2 or 3 guys on Missouri. But they're a pretty solid team and they've shown it so far. They're pretty good.
Or what about the Southeastern game you went to?
I did go to the Southeastern game. Pretty disappointing. It came down to a game-tying extra point. Bad snap. Ball was basically kicked flat on the ground, like a soccer ball.
Dang.
And it had like no arch, and it basically ended up hitting like the back of the O-line, from what I could see. And they lost by 1 because they did not get the ball back for 5.5 minutes afterwards. The defense actually showed up this week. Like last week against Houston Christian, they gave up like 600 yards of offense to like probably on paper the worst team in the conference. And now this week they face a better offense and give up like 150 yards, and just the offense can't do anything. So it's a little frustrating, covering them and just one unit works. Like either offense is good but the defense is terrible, or the defense is really good and the offense just can't do enough.
Sounds like LSU. Offense is amazing. Defense is kind of questionable. Yeah. But hopefully both teams get right for their upcoming game this weekend.
Yeah. Southeastern's going to play University of the Incarnate Word out in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. They're a pretty good team. So I don't think they're going to win this game. I think they'll be 0-6, but they're going to win eventually. They'll win 2 or 3 games this year, and hopefully they'll get some talent into the program. They already do have some good players. They're just not putting it together right now, and I don't really know why, because they were good last year. They were a playoff team last year in the FCS. So Alabama A&M is this weekend. That's always a good game.
Yeah,
it's in College Station.
I think that game might be closer than some people expect.
I think so too,
especially with it being at College Station.
Yeah,
with that environment there, I think
that could very easily be a 1-possession game. Oh yeah, Alabama's only favored by 2.5.
Yeah, and this is a Alabama team that's got some questions to it, especially at the quarterback position.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's That's the main position you need to have, especially in college football.
Milroe looked pretty good last week. But who'd they play last week? Mississippi State. Yeah, he's going to be good enough for this year to get him through. But he's not going to take him to the national championship. He's not going to win any huge playoff game.
Yeah,
I would think they're going to be good enough to be a top 10 team, but that's about it this year, in my opinion. I think A&M really could steal this. I don't know. I don't bet on these games really at all. But I would bet A&M money line could be pretty good play this weekend.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if A&M comes up on top.
Yeah,
because I felt like the way Alabama's been playing in recent games, they haven't been the dominant Alabama that we've known these last decade.
Oh, not at all. I don't know if you remember from 10 years ago, before they had Jalen Hurts, it was Blake Sims and I'm trying to think of his name, Jake Coker, and those quarterbacks who they had for a year at a time, who never did anything after Alabama, never played in the NFL, at least that I can remember. And then the rest of their roster was really good. Now the rest of their roster isn't as good. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think A&M really does have a shot here, a good shot.
Another game that I think might be as I wouldn't say as close as the A&M and Alabama game, but should be also a good game as well, is the Georgia and Kentucky game.
That should be a good one.
With both teams coming in this game 5-0, 2-0 in the SEC. I think people, even now, people still aren't as high on Kentucky. I think people think of Kentucky as just a basketball school. But I think they, especially with the win over Florida, I think having that win makes them, with this win, if they're able to win against Georgia, I think you might have to consider them as playoff contenders because beat the two-time defending champs, especially at Athens. So if they was able to go into Athens and beat them, I think we should start at least having the conversation of putting them in. I mean, even though they're ranked 20th right now, I feel like that with them beating Georgia, I feel like they might. I wouldn't say they might make the jump to top 5, but
top 10 for
top
sure.
10.
They're 20 right now. Yeah. I want to talk about one more game real quick. Neither team is ranked. Vanderbilt, Florida. It's in Gainesville. If you remember last year, Vanderbilt beat Florida, I think, for their first SEC win in 2 or 3 years. Oh, yeah. They're 2-4 this year. They're 0-2 in the SEC for Vanderbilt. I think they got a better roster than last year, and I think Florida's pretty terrible. Very up and down, and mostly down, is what I would say. I think that could be a possible. I don't want to say a trap game for Florida, because what's getting trapped? They're not going to go to the playoffs. They may not even make a bowl game this year. But I think Vanderbilt has a real shot. The line's 18.5.
Dang.
I think it should be 6.5 or 8.5 or 4.5, something. I think it's going to be a close game. I just wanted to say that real quick.
And then building off that, I guess we can start heading into the NFL. Were there any surprise wins in your opinion?
In college?
Or in the NFL?
Oh, in the NFL? I'm a little surprised. It wasn't a win, but that Dallas dominated that game. I know New England's not good, but they just looked terrible. I mean, Mac Jones had one of the worst games of his career, and I think there's a good chance he gets benched here pretty soon, next week or two.
Is there?
Zappy.
I've been hearing on social media and stuff them talk about, is Belichick really that great of a coach? Because if you look at it, without Tom Brady, what has he really done? When was the last time they went to the playoffs?
He won 2 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator. But he's never made the playoffs. Well, he did make the playoffs the first year, I think, the second year. The Mac Jones rookie year, he made the playoffs.
They did.
They did. They lost to Buffalo in the wild card. But like, New England's.
I don't know what's going on.
I think New England's a bottom 5 team in the NFL, honestly. And I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick retires after this year. Like, is he really going to want to sit there and either work with Mac Jones, who's I don't think very good, or develop another quarterback? Like, I don't know. I could see him leaving and retiring.
If he leaves it but doesn't retire, where do you think he will end up going? Oh, where do you see any team? I
see him maybe going and being like an analyst for somebody. I could see him going to like a big time college program as an analyst, as an advisor. I don't think he's going to go to another NFL school. I don't think it's going to be like another NFL team out of school, but I don't think it's going to be like a Sean Payton situation. I think once he's done in New England, he's done coaching, and I could see him honestly being like going on like a talk, like a pregame show or something. I know he hates the media, but it'd be so funny to see him on like NFL kickoff or something on Fox or CBS. That'd be interesting. I guess Houston beating Pittsburgh's not really a surprise, but to beat them 30-6 is pretty crazy. I think Houston's legit.
I think me too. Especially with C.J. Stroud and like that young, it's a young offense. It's like a young core, and I think DeMeco Ryans, I feel like he's doing a great job over there.
Oh yeah.
Even with him being a defensive coach, you can see they're still putting up points, because usually you get a defensive head coach and it doesn't really work out in the offensive favor, but
yeah,
it's something special over there. And all of this is with banged up O-line, and I wouldn't say a great running game, but it's not really something that you rely on,
Stroud still hasn't thrown an interception yet. It's pretty crazy. That's pretty good.
Pretty nice to finally see an Ohio State quarterback
he's averaging like 300 yards a game, I think, and no interceptions. It is pretty good. I think he's going to be in that upper echelon of quarterbacks, up there with like Burrow, even though he's not having a great season, but like Herbert and Mahomes and Josh Allen. I think he's legit. I think he's already kind of proven that. Like, people like to say, like, for quarterbacks, like, you got to give them time to develop.
Yeah, he's been.
But we see, like, the quarterbacks who start out really good out of the gate, almost always work out. And we see quarterbacks who are, like, give them a year or two to kind of figure it out. Like, a lot of times don't ever do it.
And it's pretty nice to see him really flourish right away. Mm-hmm. Because, coming to the NFL, people compared it to like Jared Goff with like mobility, but that's not really a bad comp if you really think about it. Because Jared Goff, he's not a bad quarterback.
Not at all. I think Stroud's mobile, but he just never needed to use his mobility. Because when he's throwing Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then they got the really good receiver now who's coming out.
I think Marvin Harrison.
Well, Marvin Harrison too, and there's another guy who's going to be a first-round pick. I forget his name. Like, when you got all those guys, like, you don't
need to run. And like, it was, for Saints fans, it was a heartbreaking loss.
Yeah.
26-9. I don't think Derek Carr should have started the game.
I don't think so, because he couldn't do anything except dump it off to Kamara.
And I think I feel like he didn't need to start the game or like play in the game, because it's still like we're 4 games in. There's no reason to risk a
drop off to Jameis Winston's not that bad. Like, I understand if it was like Mahomes and your backup was like, because some undrafted rookie, but Carr is an average starting quarterback, and Jameis is one of the best backups in the league on paper. Like, yeah, I agree. He shouldn't have started.
And watching the game, you can see that his shoulder is still kind of affected.
Well, they said he couldn't even like lift his arm up to put on deodorant earlier in the week, and he's starting a game like what 7 days after.
And I understand if it was like a playoff game or a must-win game, but this is, even though it's a division opponent, it's still too
week
early.
4 at home.
Yeah, it's still too early in the season to risk a further injury down the line.
I agree. They have no running game either. Like they can't run at all. You know, I saw this the other day. Really interesting. The NFL record for the least amount of yards with 13 catches or more in a game was 71. Kamara had 33 yards on 13 catches. He averaged under 2.5 yards a catch. 2.5 yards a carry is pretty bad. 2.5 yards a catch is like unheard of.
You're just catching, getting hit.
Basically, catching it at the line of scrimmage, turning around, taking like a step, and then you're done. Pete Carmichael needs to go, like ASAP. Like they're not going to win anything with him. Like if they keep him, which they said they are going to, it's just a throwaway season. And then on the flip side, your 49ers are now 4-0.
4-0 with, I think, one of the toughest tests coming in this Sunday night with the Dallas Cowboys. I can't wait to watch that game.
Yeah.
I feel like that should be a great game.
And then y'all play at Cleveland, and Cleveland's had like a good defense this year, really good defense. Not this week. We're gonna ignore this week. But they were starting a rookie quarterback, and they were playing behind the whole game. You know.
I mean, the Cardinals aren't that bad of a team as people like. I mean, we all think they're tanking, but they're not. They're fighting.
Mm-hmm. They beat Dallas. You guys beat Arizona. Arizona beat Dallas. You guys should beat Dallas. If you think about it.
Technically, we should blow out Dallas.
Technically. And you guys have a pretty easy schedule after that. Like you go at Minnesota. Minnesota's been terrible. Cincinnati at home, they've been terrible. Jacksonville hasn't looked good. Tampa's better than the Saints. You know, you guys really don't play another really tough game to like Seattle and Philly down here around Thanksgiving. That's like probably a competitive game. I'd say the rest of these you guys should be favored by a lot.
And I think on New Year's Eve we play the Ravens.
That could be a good game. That should be a good game.
I like us playing teams with good defenses because I feel like us playing good defense that allows us to see more of Brock Purdy, and I think people still don't believe that he's legit. Like me watching every game, I'm like seeing I think this man he's legit.
Yeah,
but people still don't want to give him that.
He's a good game manager, and that's exactly what
all you
needed. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't provide that. He just turned the ball over a lot and struggled. And if Brock Purdy can come out, and throw, 200 yards a game, toss a touchdown or two, and let McCaffrey run for 150, they're going to win every single time. And
I think he, like you say, he's a game manager, but I think he has, like a sprinkle of playmaking.
Oh, he definitely does. Yeah.
And I feel like that's really what the Niners needed, just someone. They need a game manager, of course, but just whenever a play breaks down, they just need someone to make something happen.
And he's so cheap too. 7th round rookie salary. He's making probably $1 million a year, maybe this year.
Maybe even that.
Meanwhile, you got every other quarterback who's starting is making $40 million now. I mean, Daniel Jones makes $40 million a year.
And they got absolutely.
Derek Carr makes 28, I think. I mean, that's so good. I think San Francisco is gonna definitely win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years.
I hope so.
For sure. They have to. They what? Is it 14 or 15 now regular season games in a row that they've won? It's something like that.
14.
14. Yeah.
I mean, I like us winning, but I want to see us lose just because I want the team to have that feeling, because nobody wants to go undefeated and then you lose the most important game. I'm like,
yeah.
At least I want to have just at least one loss, so we know, okay, this how we've been beaten. Now we know how that feels. So now let's go out and just dominate the rest. And I don't want that game against Dallas. I don't want to lose against Dallas. I mean, I don't
That
think
could be like the number one seeding or something later in the year. Yeah.
Yeah, but so who would you say is your top candidates for MVP right now?
For MVP, I'm gonna say Herbert's got to be up there. Even though they're not winning a lot, he's putting up the stats. Justin Jefferson's gonna on pace to have like the best season ever from a receiver. Josh Allen's up there. Tua's up there. Tyreek is up there. I don't know. It's a little early, but I'd say maybe Jalen Hurts could get his way into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think you gotta put Dak up there.
Dak?
I think so. I mean, I haven't really looked at the box scores, but Dallas offense is just humming, except for against the Cardinals. But they beat the Giants 40-0. They beat Patriots 38-3. Like he's playing really well this year. Who do you have? Up in there?
I guess I have to put Josh Allen up there. Even if we look past game one, he's been having great performances. We just got to overlook that game.
Yeah.
I got to put McCaffrey up there.
Oh, McCaffrey too. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like he's really one of the. He's still trying to put the running backs on the map, even though the market has been going down for them. I think McCaffrey's still trying to add value to that position.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's see who else. Would you say Mahomes? I mean, I feel like he's
got to be up there, but he's not looked like himself these few weeks. I mean, he's like throwing multiple interceptions in multiple games.
Yeah,
he did the same thing last year though. Beginning of the year, he threw like a ton of interceptions and like picked it up. So.
Well, that's the end of this episode,
Yeah.
Episode 5. Make sure y'all check out the Football Huddle on the Gridiron Football USA, and also be on the lookout for our magazine. It's right here.
Mailed out to 10,000 homes in the Baton Rouge area. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for having